Hi readers, today you're going to need your pencil and some Post-its, and you need to be prepared to share your thinking. So I know sometimes that we're shy when we have thinking about our reading, but it's really important that you are willing to share your thinking because you are right more often than you are wrong. And to be honest, oftentimes we're looking for opinions in writing. What do you like? What do you not like? What was funny? What was sad? And that's up to you. And so there's not a lot of wrong thinking when it comes to this kind of reading. But now that you have those things, I just wanted to chat real quick with you about, have you ever read a book just over and over? Like you love the book so much that you can almost say it as you read it. Like you don't even have to really read it, you just know it. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, pardon me, is a little bit like that for me. I have read that book so many times. I started reading it when I was a kid, and I just love that story. And so as I was reading it this fall, I started realizing I can't get enough of that book. And I had it in my head that I had to read it one more time to my students this year, just so that I could figure out exactly what makes the writing so good, so funny, and so masterful. And so at first I thought it was the author, Roald Dahl's, way of making his readers laugh because he is so funny. And his characters sound so real. Even their names are specific, like Charlie Bucket, or Mike TV, or Violet Beauregarde, or Veruca Salt. Oh, I love that. So I noticed that Roald Dahl has a knack for stretching out the moments with tiny actions, and he pulls the reader right along with his characters into their adventures. And as I read, I noticed all of the craft moves that Roald Dahl has carefully tucked into that one book until I reached the end. And then I sighed a huge sigh because it all comes together at the end. It all makes sense. The story just clicks. And that made me realize that on top of the important craft moves readers can notice throughout a story, they have to pay attention, particular to the end. You see, authors don't just pick out words and phrases to make their writing masterful. They work to make all the parts of the story click together, especially the ending. Today, I want to teach you that when readers get to the end of a story, they reread and ask, how did the author make the whole story click together? So let's practice an end of the book reflection with our read aloud, Those Darn Squirrels. We've been working together to notice what Adam Rubin does to make this book so clever and funny and masterful. Today, I thought we could read just the last part and think and jot about how the author makes the whole story click together. I'm going to read the end of the story to you again. As I read, listen carefully and ask yourself, how does the author make it all click together? Then, when you have thought, show me you're ready to jot by picking up the pencil and the Post-its that you brought. That way I know I can pause and give you a minute to record your thinking. So, doing the quick retell, Those Darn Squirrels. He loved to paint those birds. He was a grump. A grump who hates puppies, like what the heck. He loves to paint the birds. And he loves to feed the birds so that they all come. And then the birds were noticed by the squirrels. And they are really smart, and they figured out how to eat all the bird food, and the birds and Mr. Fruquire were not happy. And so he decided to make it hard for them to get, but the squirrels figured out how to get the food, and then they get mad and yell at the squirrels who are sitting there like, ha ha ha, I'm just chubby and full of food. And then Mr. Fruquire makes a big trap and refills the bird feeders, and the birds can go eat the food, but the squirrels are crafty and they figure out how to get the food eventually. And they think it's real funny, and then Mr. Fruquire, the birds flew away, and Mr. Fruquire was lonely, and the squirrels were like, oh, Mr. Fruquire, how can we make him happy? And so they have a meeting, and they look at their collection, and they decide to give Mr. Fuquire money. And, oh, that's the part where I wanted to start reading. So, sorry. They had that meeting, sorry. And then they did some trials, and the birds flew away, and Mr. Fuquire was grumpy. Okay. The squirrels held a meeting deep inside a large tree. They decided to give the old man a present to make up for taking the seeds and berries. Now, not many people know this, but squirrels are not only fuzzy little geniuses, they also collect just about anything they find on the ground. These squirrels had a vast stockpile of spectacular junk to choose from. But what would Fuquire like? Bottle caps? Popsicle sticks? Postage stamps? Finally, they had it. The perfect gift. The squirrels stacked all of their loose change on Old Man Fuquire's doorstep. There were dimes and pennies. There were nickels and quarters. There were even a few tokens from Coco's arcade. It all added up to $47.36 plus a few rounds of skee-ball. Maybe you squirrels aren't so bad, Fuquire said when he found the coins, but I still like birds better. This gave the squirrels another idea. They raided their junk collection again and got to work. When Old Man Fuquire woke up the next morning, he was amazed to see that the birds had returned. But wait, those weren't birds. They were squirrels in disguise. Great googly moogly, said Old Man Fuquire. This will make quite a painting. He ran outside and took down the lasers and the wires and the spring-loaded trapeze. He turned all the bird feeders into squirrel feeders. Then he painted till his brush ran out of bristles. The squirrels were so overjoyed they had a party in Old Man Fuquire's house. Those darn squirrels, said Fuquire, and he shook his old man fist and smiled. So what did you guys find? Where did you start writing the part where it starts to click together? What are themes that you saw? Something that maybe happened again and again. All right, friends, a lot of you were talking about how they made a new plan. They made a plan just like the plan to get the bird food, that they worked together, but this time they weren't being mean to Mr. Fuquire. Now they're being nice. So here you are at the end of the book, and you're pushing yourself to think about how the whole book clicks together, because that is a big part of what makes the writing so masterful. So let's read the last few pages again, and this time look for ways the whole book, beginning, middle, and end, click together. Those things weren't birds. They were squirrels in disguise. Great googly moogly, said Old Man Fuquire. This will make quite a painting. What did he do at the beginning of the story? He ran outside and took down the lasers and the wires and the spring-loaded trapeze. He turned all the bird feeders into squirrel feeders. Then he painted till his brush ran out of bristles. What did he do at the beginning? What did he paint? The squirrels were so overjoyed they had a party in Old Man Fuquire's house. Those darn squirrels, said Fuquire, and he shook his old man fist and smiled. Didn't he say something like that in the beginning, too? What did you write down? I'm impressed. So many of you are starting to notice not just how one or two parts click together, but how all the parts click. How many of you noticed that the squirrels worked together in the beginning, middle, and the end? Go ahead and raise your hand just so I can see how many of you noticed that. And how many of you noticed that Old Man Fuquire said, "Those darn squirrels," all throughout the book, even when he changed his mind and liked them at the end? Go ahead and raise your hand just so I can see how many of you noticed that. This is pretty amazing, huh? You are doing even more thinking at the end of the book. you are noticing how the beginning, middle, and the end click together. Readers, you are becoming truly masterful at reading like writers. You are starting to see that authors don't just work on one word or one phrase or one part when they write. Instead, authors work to make each part of their story click with the other parts. You might not notice this at first, but as you get to the end of your book, you'll want to be on the lookout for this masterful writing. So today, as you read like writers, you can notice your author's craft in each individual part, and as you near the end, you can also notice how the author made the whole book click together. You may want to flip back through your book's pages to notice the specific ways that the parts work together.